For some reason, fans are not thrilled about the future of WWE. One of the main reasons being oversaturation of the product. There's a lot of it nowadays. But I wanted to unpack this, see if it's true, look at the past and the present and where they could be going. Because one major complaint that I do hear about all the time is that there are too many shows, too many premium live events. The schedule is packed. By the way, my name is Matt. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys end up enjoying this video, click that subscribe button, it goes a long way. In 2024, there were 12 PLEs. That's not including NXT, those shows, and it's not including Saturday night's main event. Now we have Saturday night's main events with 4 shows per year, premium NBC specials. But I wanted to go back in time and look at how things were in the past, in the days that I grew up with WWE, WWF, Raw and SmackDown, the pay-per-views, in the 90s, the 2000s, and how was it then and how I kind of felt about it. Maybe you guys would feel the same, or it's just totally different. But in the year 1999, there were 12 pay-per-views. All the standards in there: Backlash, No Mercy, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, SummerSlam. Then I looked at 2002, and there were 12 pay-per-views again. So then I fast-tracked and I was like, all right, let's look at something popular-ish, like 2011 in WWE. I believe around that time we were getting 3-hour Raws, like super shows, and SmackDown, and we had 13 pay-per-views at that time. And bear in mind, there is a little note in here to say there are UK shows, the tours that they do, and sometimes they turned those into full pay-per-views, like WWF Rebellion, for example. So it varied year to year, but on average, you were looking at 12 pay-per-views, 12 major shows per year. In 2025, as of right now, when I'm doing this is before SummerSlam. And right now we have 11 main PLEs, premium live events, that have already been announced. That takes us all the way to this year's Survivor Series. We've also had NXT premium live events, 3 Saturday night main events, and we've had Worlds Collide because WWE bought AAA. Another thing I just thought of too, that where we have a lot of content, a lot of shows, you could also throw in TNA in there because you have the WWE TNA partnership. So you got NXT TNA going on where they're cross brand and cross promotion. They could throw in TNA in the group too. We're also mostly talking about the PLEs here. We do have Raw, NXT, SmackDown, Evolve, every single week. But if you remove NXT and the NBC specials, you're roughly got about the same number of special pay-per-views, PLEs, as we used to have back in the day, the good old days. However, now, one of the big differences is major shows are now becoming 2-night affairs. The whole weekend is just shoveled with WWE content. We've had several years now where WrestleMania has been a 2-night show. SummerSlam this year, for the first time ever, is a 2-night event. There's also rumors and consideration that the next year's Royal Rumble is also going to be a 2-night show. So that does kind of add to it because you are having a Saturday and a Sunday show. And for just wrestling fans in general, we're not accounting for the fact that there's other promotions out there, by the way. And if you're a wrestling fan that likes more things than just WWE, maybe you also enjoy AEW. And we saw most recently, you had a really jammed weekend where you had NXT, you had All In, you had Saturday Night's Main Event, and you had Evolution, all packed into one weekend. It was a lot. All In was awesome though. So just the pay-per-views, those monthly shows with WWE, they're on average about the same if we exclude NXT and Saturday Night's Main Event. So there isn't a huge difference there because also, as many fans would say, and so would I, you don't have to watch everything. You can cherry pick what you like, and some people do. Some people are hardcore fans and they consume everything and they love it. And other fans, they're a little bit more casual. They might watch Raw, they might watch SmackDown and the main shows and that's it. And other fans, they also may just tune into something like Royal Rumble season. They go from Rumble to Mania and post-Mania to get their fill of WWE, and then they're gone. Everybody's different. And that's kind of the beauty thing about wrestling in general, is that you can dive in and consume what you like, then bounce out if it's not for you for a while, and then see when it gets hot again for you. But if we do include NXT's big PLEs and their specials and all of the Saturday Night's Main Events that we've been getting, you are having a lot of WWE shows. You got 12 there, you got another 4, we're up to 16, and you got however many NXT shows, we could say maybe 5 more or more. You're getting into 20 plus shows, premium events for WWE every single year. You have, when you put it all together, as of right now in 2025, you have essentially doubled all the output of content, not including what we have on weekly TV as well, where you have Raw that is about 2.5 hours on average. We used to have it at 3 hours, and they've tweaked it now since we're on Netflix, NXT, and SmackDown. Thankfully for me, SmackDown's gone down to 2 hours instead of 3. Kind of like it at a 2 hour, that's a nice time frame. But even the weekly content is a lot. And so you can start to see where a lot of fans would feel a sense of burnout, a sense of just feeling like everything's a little bleak, and then it's just too much. And then they get bored because maybe it's just too much in their face all the time. But I don't think that it's just having so many shows that really seems to do it for fans. I would argue that another big component to all of this, and why some fans may be feeling like there's just too much, has to do with social media. Let's look at YouTube for a second here, because that's where I live and that's what we're on right now. Every WWE clip from Raw and SmackDown, NXT, every show is uploaded to their YouTube channel. Every match and highlight reel for Raw, it all takes place on Netflix. It then gets uploaded almost instantly and immediately to WWE's YouTube channel, which is great for that audience that wants to be able to just grab a couple of the matches, key moments, the highlights, and be able to just move on. The beautiful thing, and we're not talking about just the negatives here, because there are a lot of positives when it comes to social media, WWE's usage of it, and fans' accessibility with the product. That's a big thing, is being able to just kind of watch it how you want, when you want. So a positive is that you have it at your fingertips. You want to basically see everything that happened on SmackDown this past week. You can do that just by going to their YouTube channel. However, with just that portion alone of having everything uploaded to video right away, the problem I see with it is it dilutes the impact of maybe your major programming, your major PLEs. When we had something like Evolution this past month, I thought the show was fantastic. And we'll talk about match cards and quantity and quality as well. But I thought it did such a tremendous job. The matches though, they were also just uploaded to YouTube pretty quickly while the show was still going on. So you didn't feel like you had to necessarily go out of your way to turn on Netflix and watch it. Versus years ago, you're paying $50, $60 for a pay-per-view, and that's the only way you were able to know what was going on, unless you got the DVDs later on, message boards, websites, things like that, to know the results. But you were limited to it, and the world changes, and so be it. You got the other arm of social media, and I'm putting YouTube in there, but Twitter is another huge arm of all of this, because on an average episode of Monday Night Raw or SmackDown or the major shows every single month, you are going to be able to go and follow WWE's Twitter, and you're going to be able to see every match result, every highlight, not just posted by them, but fans, people that are watching and following the product. You are going to experience all of it instantly. Match clips, stuff that's just recorded off screen, all the conversations, everything, minute to minute, moment by moment. You will see the entire show instantaneously, and you're getting that feedback loop constantly. But why does this matter then to the viewer's experience? Does it hurt it? Help it? How do you feel about it? You can make an argument that this hurts the experience overall of enjoying the product, because if you are somebody that is on all platforms, social media, you're getting engaged and you're getting influenced and bombarded in some cases with all of the content all the time. Every nitty-gritty detail of what is happening on the show that night. But the positive is that you're engaged with it. You can be engaged with other fans, engaged with and interact with other superstars, other WWE wrestlers, feeling like you are a part of all of it. While we may say that things are toxic online, and they definitely can be that, there's also some positives in there where you can cultivate a community and engage with certain groups and people that are like-minded, that like what you like. It's trying to say that it's not all doom and gloom out there. But I do think that there is a little bit of a consequence to that, of having everything on every platform all the time, always connected, always engaged, always in your face. I think it can then take away from the product that you are ultimately watching, which is one of the big PLEs. Almost takes away from it if you're just watching from a pure standpoint of engaging in just the pay-per-view and nothing else, and not looking online to see what the conversation is or what WWE's even posting about everything. So I leave that part with you guys. Is it helping or hurting having all of that access and all of that content everywhere all of the time? But I did mention something in there about quality versus quantity. I think that is a big point that comes up with WWE these days, because we have a lot of content, and then we have, for match cards on these premium live events, we have generally we have smaller cards. Try to go back in time a little bit to see what were the match cards. WrestleMania 35 was the last WrestleMania that was a one-night show. What was interesting about that is they had 4 pre-show matches and then they have 12 matches on the main card. That's a lot of wrestling. And it was like that for a very long time with Vince McMahon, where it was like 12, 15 matches, 7-hour shows, 8-hour WrestleManias. And that is just WrestleMania, I know. You can look at things like Backlash and Judgment Day, No Mercy, SummerSlam, and all of that, and you're gonna get a wide range of the number of matches. But I bring this up because, well, it's brought up a lot by fans that they argue the quantity and the quality of matches and how it varies. And also, is it really gonna be worth your investment of time and even your money for engaging with all of this? So for example, Evolution this past month had 7 matches on the card. For whatever reason, at least for me, I felt that Evolution was a very balanced show and I felt like there was a lot of value in there. I thought the show executed very well and I thought everything kind of delivered. But it was a 7-match card. And right now in 2024 and 2025, we've seen match cards shrink and they are about 5 matches per card. And in some cases that we've looked at, 4 matches per card. Elimination Chamber this year, 4 matches. Now, I will say, some of these, because we have gimmicks involved in them, like a chamber, ladder matches, they tend to revolve around those. Those are big matches, and they take up a lot of time. So I can see where WWE would be coming from when they have fewer matches on the card. They're allowing them to breathe, and again, that gets into the quality aspect of things. That you're having an elimination chamber match and it might take 25-30 minutes out of a 3-hour show. What do you want? You want a 10-minute chamber match? That's not realistic, and I think that would be terrible. But in some ways, I think that might be oddly entertaining. If it was 10 minutes, just opening pods, like instantly, it'd just be Finisher City. Royal Rumble, it was 4 matches as well. 2 Royal Rumbles, and then 2 regular matches. Backlash had 5 matches. Money in the Bank also had 5 matches. The most recent Saturday night's main event, Goldberg's retirement, that was 4 matches on the card. But I will say that Saturday night's main events, all of those, they have their own restrictions because they're on NBC. It's televised live, so you're not going to get 6-7 matches in there unless they're going to be 3 minutes long. It's a lot of commercial breaks. But then let's look at 2024. The 2024 Royal Rumble, 4 matches as well. Backlash 2024 had 5 matches. SummerSlam last year's, because we're coming up to the new one, which is going to be a 2-night show. Last year's SummerSlam was 7 matches. Same as Evolution this year. In general, over the last couple of years, we're seeing match cards that are smaller, and the quality, I think it varies depending on the show. Quality though is totally subjective. I can't sit here and be like, this is the best show ever, and this, I don't know why I sound like Triple H. This is a good show, this is a bad show, and here's why. It's just my opinion. And everyone's gonna say, this was great. Some people will think that one of the PLEs was bad, and the next person's gonna say, I thought it was really good, and that's okay. But what I get concerned about is the inflation of ticket prices for these things, for live events, for weekly TV shows, for these big premium live events, these stadium shows, and the ticket prices getting insane for people to even attend. Granted, people are attending. WWE talks for the last couple of years about how they're selling out everything. They're doing 2-night shows everywhere. It's bigger and bigger and bigger. People are paying the money to go to these shows. But I can't help but wonder that if we come off of Bash in Berlin, Backlash, a No Mercy, and overall the sentiment is that show was fine, or it was anchored by one strong match and the rest of the card was meh, average. That gets to be a little bit of a problem in my eyes, because then you are looking at the quality quantity argument of, hey, we only had 4 or 5 matches on this thing and one was the big heavy hitter and the rest of it, oh, they felt like Raw main events. I hear that a lot too. A lot of the shows that we have, you end up feeling like, well, these 2 matches didn't have much build, or these feel like could have been on Raw. Night of Champions, you had Karrion Kross versus Sami Zayn, a matchup that people were wanting to see for a while, and for a lot of Karrion Kross fans, they were wanting to see him get onto a PLE or just even on Raw and like wrestling, just regularly. So it was a cool thing to see. Was that a PLE match? I don't know. You could argue yes, you could argue no. Some may say it's not a PLE match and they threw it on there. It feels like a Raw match based off of the build, the time, the commitment they gave to it. So I can see where a lot of fans are coming from when you have shows that are 4 match cards, 5 match cards. Maybe you don't feel like you're getting enough value in there, but they keep coming and coming and coming, and that's what she said. But it gets a little bit too much where you have so many shows every single month, all of these specials, and they keep minimizing the amount of matches on there. Now, do we need to get into the days of 10 matches on a card? I don't think we'll ever go there again. And I think that this is all going back to Triple H's days of NXT, where the NXT takeovers were 5 matches on the card, and NXT takeovers were pretty awesome. So I understand the philosophy behind it. Letting matches breathe, giving people and their characters and their matches more time so they can flow and tell more compelling stories, to have giant moments like the turn of Sami Zayn to Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble, big bloodline feuds, Survivor Series, CM Punk returns at the very end of the show, and it's the biggest highlight that anybody's gonna talk about. And as WWE often talks about, it's the moments and not always about, oh, this match. It's the stories and the big moments that come out of all of it. And that's what people think about. So that's where I have to leave it to you with that quantity quality piece. It's up to everybody individually of what they like and don't like. Now, to stay positive here, the good news is that you have a lot of stuff. You got a lot of quantity in there. You may not get the quantity on the match cards for PLEs, but you could argue that you're getting the quantity in terms of all of the content available to you. You have way more wrestling in general, from WWE to AEW, TNA, the indies. There are promotions everywhere that you can engage with and get their content. Libraries, WCW's own Vault channel, WWE's Vault channel, to be able to go back in the history of stuff. The network was there. Peacock has stuff. Netflix has content. The ability to go on a social media, on Instagram or Twitter, and maybe even have dialogue with wrestlers, with WWE superstars. That is really cool stuff. You didn't get that back in the Attitude Era. You couldn't just tweet Stone Cold and ask him a question, as fun as that might be. And another positive is that when a big story piece does unfold, like what could happen at SummerSlam, or what we saw at WrestleMania 40 with Cody finishing the story, everyone that was involved in it, you get to be involved in it. You get to feel like you are a part of it, a part of the conversation, by having all of that engagement, all of that content, all of that access. But I think it does come with a little bit of a consequence. And I think the consequence could be that oversaturation piece, oversaturating the product, diluting the product potentially. Something that is always constantly in your face, accessible, everywhere you turn, there it is. At some point, it can have a little bit of a split for the audience, where some people start pulling back a little bit because they feel like it's just a little bit too much for them. And that goes back to the earlier point of, well, some fans will say just don't watch it then, or cherry pick what you want to watch. And I think that's also healthy advice. I don't know how much more content WWE could realistically add to their calendar. I'm sure they will think of something. If I had the crystal ball here with Triple H and creative and see what, and TKO, and what they might want to do down the road, I think that in the future, we are looking at more. I think we're looking at more 2-day shows and way more of the international shows. TKO trying to present and position everything as extremely premium. These moves of them buying other companies and gobbling it up and all the competition, and then counter programming against their competition, they want to and are the dominating brand out there. But at some point, even with adding more 2-day premium live events, adding more weekly televised content, more monthly PLEs, there could be a point where there's diminishing returns, that the crowds are not as packed at these PLEs, where it's smaller crowd sizes. Maybe not by much, but I can see it where fans are not going to be shelling out huge amount of dollars to go to the next big WWE show. And people might say, I'm just gonna wait and save up for the really big shows like WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and the Rumble. But that's where I feel like that international piece really has a lot to play with it in their future, because those international markets, maybe they're starving a little bit more for the content, for those premium events that they don't get to have every single year. Where do you stand on all of this? Is there too much content, and where do you think they're gonna go next? If you wanna talk more WWE, click this video right here, subscribe to the channel, have yourself a great day. See ya.